Hi, Alan Stratton from Woodturning. The Christmas Ornament Challenge for this year is in full swing. The submission period is the month of November, and I have time for another Christmas ornament to put into the challenge. This one is with the dyed frogwood, cherry, those are both segmented, with walnut and maple veneer, and spalted box elder, which gives a nice accent for the top and bottom finial. In the midst of all the busyness of the Christmas season, please take time to remember the true spirit of Christmas. Take time with your family to celebrate and to remember what is most important during this Christmas season. Meanwhile, Merry Christmas and have a good turning.
The first thing to do in most segmented projects is to cut segments. I like a wedgie sled on my table saw for sawing segments. The board on the left is a segment length stop that is clamped to the rip fence. This provides consistent segment lengths. Notice in the throat of the saw is a plywood zero clearance plate that has a fall-off ramp. When cut, segments fall away from the saw blade and don't get nicked. The cut segments always have some wood crumbs around the cut surfaces. A light rub on each edge against a sanding board gets rid of these pesky things. Theoretically, a wedgie sled can cut perfect segments. However, in practice for me, they are near perfect segments. Slight variations creep in from the saw blade, wood crumbs, variations in the wood, variations in how I hold the wood, etc., etc., etc. So I rarely glue up an entire ring at once. In this case, I want a piece of maple veneer between the frogwood segments. This compounds variation even more. So now I'm gluing one piece of veneer between two segments and clamping them. My preferred glue for segmented work is Titebond Original Extend for a less gummy glue line and a little more open time. After a few minutes to dry, I'm gluing the pairs together, again with veneer between the segments. I cannot clamp these. Rubber bands will provide the clamping pressure. I've given extra stretch to the round side. A piece of oven parchment paper keeps glue from getting all over. Next, I can complete the half rings. Each half is 8 segments and 7 pieces of maple veneer. I use a bolt for its parallel sides between the half rings. This permits the segments to pivot together for best glue contact. After this, I will take the half rings to a disc center to slightly sand the segment faces for a perfect joint. The final glue takes almost no time at all, just a little glue and clamps. The most important thing is to remember to reinsert the remaining maple veneer between the segment joints. After a little dry time, I can clean up the surface to prepare to glue the rings together. For this project, I have a ring of cherry segments left over from a previous project. This will provide a backdrop to the frogwood. The cherry is already mounted to a wood faceplate. For now, I need to use the lathe as a big clamp to center and provide pressure on the glue. Again, I'm putting a piece of maple veneer between the segment rings. While the glue dried, I worked on something else. After about 20 minutes at my cool shop temperature, I can do some light cleanup on the lathe and cut a small mounting tenon in the frogwood. I'm going to split the cherry ring. It is too tall to serve as a single ring. I'm parting it in half so that I can glue it to the other side. Then dress the face to ensure that it is flat. Next, I'm mounting the frogwood to a chuck with that little tenon I just cut. I'm dressing the cut face of the cherry to prepare for the next glue stage, and cut a small tenon on the cherry side with my skew. Now reverse the wood in the chuck and glue the cherry onto the opposite side from before. Just remember the maple veneer. I now have a ring of cherry on both sides of the frogwood with veneer between each segment ring. Now to glue solid walnut to my stack again with maple veneer between the segment rings. The glue is dry enough. I can trim back the walnut and, what else? Cut a small tenon and dress the face. I'm also drilling a 3/8 inch hole for the finial mount. I'm now parting off the project wood from the faceplate. I'll dress the faceplate and use it again later for another project. Finally, dress the face and glue on the matching walnut and maple to the other side, and trim back the new walnut layer. So far, I've rushed the glue dry time, doing light tooling after only 15 to 20 minutes at the current temperature of the shop. Then, only between centers. I'm now going to let the wood dry at least overnight so that I can have confidence in the glue holding under the stress. Now that the glue is well cured, I'm mounting the stack on a pen mandrel. A couple of spacers turned from 8 high-density polyethylene take up the slack from the 1/4 inch mandrel to the 3/8 inch hole in my wood stack. A couple of old spacers take up the remaining extra room on the right. On the live center is a cone to capture the end of the pen mandrel without putting pressure that could bend the mandrel. Now for final shaping, but a couple of short plywood spacers split under pressure. I had to replace them with a longer spacer. I previously had measured the inside diameter at key points. I'm using those measurements now to guide how much wood I can remove. I want the radius on the frogwood to show off the layers in that lamination. That's why I had rotated the frogwood strips 90 degrees way back when I cut the segments. The frogwood is much harder than the cherry, but eventually the design evolves and looks good to me. After a thorough sanding, I'm applying shellac friction polish and giving it a good rub with a dry paper towel. Wow, that color is really popping now. It's time to turn a finial. This will be the bottom finial. This is spalted box elder. It is already rough turned and ready to go. To me, turning a finial is a process of finding a balance between chunky, fragile, and beauty. As Christmas ornaments, they will be handled by children. I can't stop that. This precludes sharp points and extremely thin sections. The shape has to evolve as I remove wood to expose the finial within. At first, I have a fat carrot, so I keep turning. Then the end shatters due to a wormhole. Okay, it will be shorter. That's okay. I decide to cut a bead section. Then the wood on either side seems fat. I keep at it. After sanding, I give it shellac friction polish. Nice. Finally, the finial for the top. This will be shorter and simpler, but plus it needs a hole for a hanger. I make hangers from thin craft wire, about 20 gauge. A couple of inches looped around a drill bit and twisted into a spiral does the trick and looks much nicer than a screw eyelet. This time for this finial, I decide to have the finial mimic the shape of the ornament's body, then sand and apply friction polish. Christmas ornaments are great projects. This one has the unique color and figure from the frogwood. The other wood is leftovers and remnants from other long-forgotten projects. This one will be a welcome addition to our Christmas tree and remembrance. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe on my website, tell your friends, and send me your comments and questions. Every week, I make a new woodturning video. But please wear your full face shield anytime the lathe is running. Until next week's video, this is Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns.